Hi, welcome to Promo Insiders, an ASI media podcast that covers the issues that matter most to the promotional products industry. I'm Chris Ruvo for ASI, and today I have the privilege of speaking with Rielly Troyer of Michigan-based Proforma Printhouse. Rielly is ASI Media's 2024 Distributor Up-and-Comer of the Year. He earned the honor in part by doing over $1 million in sales in his second full year in the business. He was just 23 at the time. Rielly, that's obviously very impressive stuff. Thank you for joining me today for a chat.
Thank you so much for having me. It's an honor.
Yes, so let's jump into the first question here. How did you get involved in promo? What's the background there that brought you into the industry?
Yeah, this is a question I love hearing from people. It's always a unique answer. It's usually one of the two things. They kind of came in through family, or they stumbled upon the industry on accident, and a lot of people don't even know it exists. So I'm more of the first half. My dad opened up a Proforma franchise in 2009. So I would have been about 9 or 10 at the time. And I grew up kind of in the industry knowing about it. I talked to my dad a lot more about business than probably most of my friends did. And I always knew that I wanted to go into some type of sales. So when I went to college, I thought I might want to be a realtor or a real estate agent. I really liked the idea of picking a sales career where my earnings was more dependent on my outcome and what I put into it instead of a typical 9-to-5 job. And once I saw kind of how fruitful it could be and how fun it could be for my dad, and I really liked the idea of working with him, and he was super open to it, I just decided to give it a whirl after college.
All right. So that's a cool story. We like legacies because, even though the industry is getting bigger and bigger, it is still made up of so many family businesses, and you have that story and that generational story. That's pretty cool. So there was that early exposure, but you still had to run with it, right? Like you still, even though it's a family business, nobody gave this to you, the success that you had. Your dad, made sure that you were going to work for this. And I was just wondering how you could tell us, how did you pull off 7 figures in your second full year in sales?
Yeah, it's a mix of things, and I'm happy to share it. I heard from a really successful Proforma owner early on when I think I went to my first Proforma convention. I introduced myself to him, and he said, I think the key to success is being in the right place at the right time enough times. And I think that sums up my success pretty well. It's a mix of strong prospecting over the years, and a lot of people might think that was just for direct clients, but also I prospected a lot for acquisitions. I was looking at kind of how I was going to build up my customer base. And I thought, well, if I could, I can either, develop my own clients one by one, or I can kind of look for people that might be getting ready to retire or exit the business. And then I can inherit a bigger customer base all at once. So it was a mix of prospecting for direct customers, but I've also, been a big part of 2 acquisitions that we've done the last 2 years and gained a lot of customers that way and grown a lot of accounts.
Really interesting and forward thinking. I think for one so young, can you unpack maybe just a little bit about some of how those acquisitions came together and the kind of the role you played in bringing them off? Because as I understand it, and having talked to you in the past, this was not a passive thing on your part. This wasn't the company. You had a very active role in bringing these acquisitions, to fruition.
Yeah, so the first one we bought out AdLink Promotions. They are located in South Bend, Indiana, and I was prospecting through LinkedIn. I was just looking up promotional product distributors and checking out their age. And a lot of times I would just go on there and see when they graduated college and be like, oh, wow, they graduated college in the 70s, so they're probably getting to retire. So I shot a bunch of them emails and just said, hey, I'm new to the business, and I just wondered if you had any type of exit strategy. I'd love to chat with you about this. And that's how the first acquisition happened. And that's now led to one of my best customers came from that acquisition.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Some of my best orders that kind of through a roundabout way. And then another acquisition came, and this is where I say kind of just being in the right place at the right time. This one, my dad and I really headed together, but we knew there was a Proforma owner, Chuck Collini, in Traverse City, Michigan, and we knew that he was kind of gearing up to retire. So when I went to convention, I definitely made a point to get to know him and just get to know who I was, because I knew he would consider us for that acquisition. And then over time, got to really get to know him. We met up with him a lot of times, and he said that he wanted to go with us because of the youth movement that we offered and the amount of time I was able to commit to his accounts.
That's really interesting. Now I have to bring that subject because I think it's an interesting one. You are young, of course. You look young, of course. You said this to me. We talk. I do look young. Um, there's been times, maybe initially, where that could be a bit of a hurdle, but you found, I think, a creative and just a hit the nail on the head way to navigate that. Can you just tell us about that a little bit?
Definitely. Yeah, I think that it's especially in an aging industry, it's an interesting position to be in. Whenever I go to the ASI show or the PPAI show, I see tons of people, and not very few of them are my age, especially on the distributor side. And I think there's a bit of a stereotype towards people my age, and I totally understand where that comes from. And two ways, I try to really just embrace it, and like knowing that a lot of the buyers in this industry are my age and they're kind of turning over to be that. And so I think I bring a nice perspective and understanding and connecting with them, or whether you're handing out promotional products more to people my age, I like to think I know kind of what they want and what they're looking for. And I was also in a really interesting situation with the second acquisition with Chuck Collini in Traverse City, because he was, I believe, 66 years old at the time. And he had his business for 43 years, I believe. And so his customers had known him and how he did things for 43 years. And he's very well liked. He made people laugh, and he was a people person. And I kind of had to follow that up, and I kind of had to figure out, how was I going to like live up to the Chuck expectation of these customers, and how am I going to keep them when I'm 23 years old and I haven't really done this before. So I just kind of said, hey, at the end of the day, if I do a good job and follow through with what I say I'm going to do, and give them a great product and a great service, at the end of the day, I don't think they care too much about my age.
I think that's a great point, and that actually segues nicely into something else I wanted to ask you, which is about your approach and your selling style. You're not passive. You're not waiting for business. And I was hoping you could talk about, just that approach to sales, how you not only just getting business, but walking that order through, holding the client's hand, the creativity you bring to bear. I think there's a lot there that people could benefit from hearing.
Yeah. So are you saying you want me to just kind of explain my selling style?
There we go. You
Okay.
put it much more succinct than I did.
Yeah. Yeah. And so I've mentioned a couple of times, I think following through with what you say you're going to do is huge, and following up. I know some of my biggest clients and best orders, they have a very long deal cycles. I know like one program we're starting up just now. I think I first met with the client about it over 2 years ago. So I've been persistent, and I've always tried to pride myself on being a product expert. There's so many products in this industry, and you're never going to know them all. But I think if you can kind of get to know them, and if a certain customer is looking for a drawstring bag, and if you know which vendor maybe has the cheapest option or the best quality or kind of the mix of both, I always kind of pride myself on being a product-based salesperson, and not just trying to convince somebody to buy something, but offering them like a true service and an answer to their problems. And over time, I think that's yielded to some pretty good success.
Yeah, pretty good success pretty quickly too. Obviously, with the year that you had last year, and I know 2024 is off to a good start. Speaking of clients, what type of clients do you work with? Are there certain industries, and you don't have to name names if you don't want to or anything, but just types of industries or types of clients you approach, and why?
Not necessarily. I don't have like a huge niche. There's a few of my bigger clients are in the industries of like manufacturing. I do actually a lot of like printing like labels and tags with manufacturing clients, because everything that they're producing, whether it's like the machinery that they're working on or all the product that goes out the door, they all need labels, they all need tags, and they also run out of those tags as they're continuing to make more products. So it's a beautiful business to be in with repeat orders. And then I also work with a lot of banks. I do primarily promotional products and apparel with the banks. And then an industry that I've really enjoyed working with and sought out and prospecting is the breweries and beverage space. I think that breweries have super fun branding. They have a lot of like cool logos, or cool things that go with their IPA beers, and it leads to a lot of cool like fun promotional products and a lot of custom items.
And not a bad site visit either if you have to go there, right?
Right. Yeah. Products.
Yeah. Very good. Very good. So, you've done a lot of, cool orders campaigns in a short amount of time in the business. Is there one or two that maybe you could point out to us, ones that you're especially proud to have done?
Absolutely. Yeah. I'll start off with the first kind of like case study. So it was about 2 years ago, or maybe a year and a half to 2 years ago, I started working with this banking client, and I knew that I was not their go-to for promotional products or apparel. But I figured, hey, if I'm ever going to be, I might as well be persistent. I better give them good service, just do everything that they ask and go above and beyond. And one time I could tell they reached out to, probably multiple contacts, and everybody's looking for new and fun, unique ideas. I hear that every day, and at the end of the day, there's only so many new products each year. But there's also custom products. You're not always just slapping a logo onto a water bottle or a pen. So this bank asked me if we could do custom like Lego toys, and they provide financing for the construction industry. So they wanted to do like a small little construction Lego. And if my dad taught me right when I entered the industry, if somebody asks you if we do something, the answer is always yes, and then we figure it out later. So I said, oh, absolutely, yes, we can do this for you. Give me a few days to put a quote together. So I reached out to a bunch of kind of normal vendors, and we didn't really have much luck. And at first I was like, oh, shoot, hopefully we can kind of pull this off. And then I got in touch with a factory directly overseas that could produce custom Legos, and not only produce them, but produce them in a short lead time for an event that they had just about a month and a half away. And that included, doing a pre-production sample prior to that and getting it in hand. So we had to airship the product in. So it was like a 2,500 piece order of these custom Legos. And what that led to was, so we posted a picture of this final product on my LinkedIn page. And then I had somebody reach out directly that wanted to do Legos for their company. And it was a Fortune 500 company. This company has like kind of a famous white truck that drives around. And they're like, hey, I'm interested in doing our trucks in a custom Lego, just like you did before for this bank. So we hopped on a Zoom call, talked about it. And then that ended up leading to a sale. We did 60,000 custom Lego trucks for this Fortune 500 company. And then that has now led to multiple Lego projects with them, and even more referrals to people that have seen their product at trade shows.
Yeah. So many good elements there. Like, how can you not love that story? You go from just, hey, the customer's right, yes, let's figure it out, to actually figuring it out, to delivering, to then doing a very smart bit of social media marketing, which was as simple as just putting it out there. You never know who's going to see it. Somebody saw it, the right person saw it, the opportunity came, and you capitalized on it in a big way, and it's just snowballed, hugely from that. So I love that story. I think that's such a great example of how doing a good job on what may be a smaller project, or even keep knocking on the door somewhere where maybe it doesn't seem like you're going to get in, but you just keep trying and it comes to pass. A very, very good story there. One of the things that I think we want to talk to you about too is, you are a part of this younger generation that's going to need to take the mantle, so to speak, to keep this industry going. What do you love, I guess, or like about the industry, and why would you encourage others of, your generation to become involved in it?
Yeah, good question. I think a lot of people my age going through college and in this huge social media society where, our attention spans get shorter and shorter, and we want to see TikTok video, new video every 10 seconds. And we see influencers and people flashing cars, and everybody wants to kind of make money right away, and everybody wants to get the quick fix instead of going into a sales role that's commission based. So I would really just encourage people to see the long-term view. I think it's really hard to understand that, most people work for 40 years after college. A lot of people are really fixated on those first few years and not the long horizon. So I think there's so many good things that can come from this industry, from the friendly people that you meet at the trade shows, the exciting work days when one email somebody might be asking for 100 pens, the next might be somebody wants to do custom backpacks overseas, and you're always helping some business solve a problem that they have. So that just mixed with the freedom and just really the earning potential that can come with it, I think it's just like a recipe for a fun career.
Can't say it better than that, but I'll leave a final word with you. Any final thoughts for anybody here today?
No, yeah, I think that sums it up pretty good.
All right, Rielly, thank you so much for joining us today. Congratulations, our distributor up and comer of the year, Rielly Troyer.
Yeah. Thanks, Chris.